When I was 12, after years of living abroad, I returned to Greece and attended a public Greek school. In this new school, I saw that students were only asked to memorize the textbook as best as possible and write it in exams, and after that, they remembered nothing. Very few seemed hungry for learning and using that knowledge to create something new. In middle school, I founded our first school newspaper. Most of my classmates read the comic section, and after that, threw it in the trash. In the 7 years I went to Greek school, I realized that my classmates were memorizing, reciting, passing, and moving on to the next stage of their education without actually doing any learning. I escaped this path as soon as possible by transferring to an American high school and then going to an American college. I realized only a year ago that I wanted to be the one to make changes. I escaped, but my friends, family, and fellow Greeks did not. They had to go through the system, ultimately graduating from college with little to show for it. My friends and brothers told me that they felt inadequate compared to graduates around the world, and unprepared for the skills that their jobs will require. But I don't want to jump right into action. Many others have tried to change Greek education without understanding how the Greek system and its people function, and as a result have failed. I want to study them first and discover how they think and what will truly benefit them. I want to go back once I've become an expert in cognitive developmental psychology, or more simply, in how people learn, and change how the learning is done in Greek schools. After that, I believe I will be able to propose meaningful changes. Like a charging battery, I want to get energized with as much knowledge as I can before I can go out there and be effective. So my aim is to reform the Greek educational system by conducting research to find out how people learn best. Right now, I am studying psychology and education at Clark University. Since Clark does not offer educational psychology, I combine relevant classes with my aim in mind. I take education classes for both teaching and education policy, because I want to find out how people learn, but also how I can transfer my findings into policy to change the system. I am also learning how policymaking works in real life by being peer review editor for Clark's scholarly undergraduate research journal, where we are collaborating with administration to legitimize it as an academic journal on campus. My psychology classes focus on developmental and cognitive psychology, so that I can understand how the human mind works before I can ask my own questions. Last summer, I did an internship at the Social Cognitive Development Lab at Yale to get to know research methods in depth and in practice. I want my own research findings to be valid and useful, and good methodology is the key to that. Another way I charge with new knowledge is that I test out my observations on what could help people learn in my splash classes. For example, last year the class was split into groups and each group competed with each other in class activities. From the reactions I get in these activities, I refine my aim. What seemed to get kids more motivated? What did they remember best? What path could have the answers to my questions? Looking ahead, I'm interested in development and education programs in NYU, Stanford, University of Michigan, and UC Berkeley. These PhD programs conduct research in cognitive and developmental psychology and try to improve education with their findings. Sound familiar? As a way to make sure that I stay on track, I have set a benchmark for myself that by the time I turn 30, I should have my PhD. It takes 5 years to finish, and if I graduate Clark at 21 and work for 2 to 3 years, I should have my PhD by then. I am studying for the GRE, and I am putting together a plan for 2 potential honors theses to introduce me to the methods and theory in my future PhD program. One is on the link between motivation and effective learning, and the other on how schooling can reinforce one's aims. However, since I discovered my aim recently, and I haven't had much research experience yet, it is possible that I will not get accepted right after I graduate. This might sound like a devastating possibility, but to me it is an opportunity to recharge. I will find a job as a lab manager to get more experience and research in my field. There, I can meet like-minded people that can support me while I search for ways to realize my aims. In the far future, I am sure that I will find many obstacles, such as having trouble applying my findings in Greece, given the bureaucratic hell that it is, or officials, teachers, and students being resistant to a new system. I don't see these as problems. If there is resistance, that means that something isn't working and could be improved. All these problems are learning opportunities for me to refine my actions to better serve Greek education. My aim has a clear beyond-the-self impact for my friends, family, and the Greek people by giving them a better education and a brighter future. I believe it is a scam for people to have 12 or more years of mandatory schooling and nothing to show for it, and so it is deeply meaningful to me to provide the Greek people with a useful education. My father is a doctor and my mother a teacher, and they both believe in education's lifelong benefits both in people's personal lives and their career prospects. It is easy for me to get caught up in daily stress and get lost in the details when designing a program, but they are constant reminders that what matters most is to improve people's lives through their education. My aim started out as reactive and with time turned proactive. I was appalled when I realized that my friends and I went through 7 years of Greek schooling without truly learning anything, but that gave me the motivation to intentionally search for ways to improve it. With all my efforts and new knowledge, I am certain that one day in the future it will be time to disconnect the charger and go out and zap the Greek educational system.